Happy New Year, everybody. Happy 2026. And I have missed you. I have been away from you for 18 months nearly now. And I'm hoping that you'll all forgive me for the radio silence, as it were. But it's been a funny old 18 months, really. I had to kind of put everything down. It's been incredibly busy. It's been busy in ways I hadn't expected it to be. And I've got lots of stories to tell you. So it'll be a catch-up video, and I hope you'll forgive me if it's a little bit long today, but I feel like I need to fill you in all the things that have happened over the last 18 months and then get back on track. So cheers to you all. I don't normally keep my tea on my ironing board, but it's fine there. So do you remember when I last talked to you all and I was in the barn and we were tidying it up and getting it all sorted and getting rid of stuff, and I finally had a barn that I could work in and I could put the machine up, and I was so excited, and I was working in it, and it was lovely. And the last time I talked to you as well, do you remember we were making these little square scraps, and I ended up making a curtain. I've just taken the backing off and the top off, so it looks like that. And I absolutely loved it. I do love it. It was a bit of a mission for me because I'm a bit, this doesn't match and this doesn't go, and I like things to be pretty coordinated. So this was a bit of a therapy for me because it was literally picking out from the basket anything that I picked up, anything, any colour, anything, and making it into blocks, and then picking up the blocks and then making them into the curtain. So there's no rhyme, no reason. But when I hung it up in the utility room, the light from the, because I've got a transparent ceiling in the utility room, the light from that shone through this, and it looked like a stained glass window, and it made me laugh every day. It was just lovely. But in the summer, that's fine. In the winter, however, it makes my bathroom very dark. The bathroom is a tacked-on bathroom because this cottage was built in 1850, and obviously they didn't have a bathroom in those days. It had an outhouse, and it had a tin bath in the living room, and that was it. And then they built the bathrooms on the back, but they're only little. And it's made it very, very dark. So I thought, okay, let's make a summer curtain and let's have a winter curtain. And so I thought about doing this, and then something happened to change my mind, put it that way. So I'd hung it up and it was fine. And then if I spin back about, say, 2.5 years, I made a decision. But I couldn't carry it out. Well, I made a decision actually 16 years ago, but it was a pipe dream in those days. And then 2.5 years ago, I made a decision that I was going to move out of this house and change my life completely. I'll come on to that in a minute. So that meant that I was going to have to sell the house. And so the house has actually been on the market now for a year. But last year, the housing market was just completely dead. So it's given me a year to clear the house out, things that I didn't want anymore, to tidy it up, to do a few little jobs that were left over. I'm still doing a few little jobs that are left over because, as I've said, this last 18 months has been quite a whirlwind. So having made the video and saying, I'm going to do loads more content, what happened then was that my role with the rescue kennels as their behaviourist took on a different twist. So they then took me on as their welfare trustee, which to start with, I didn't have to do very much. But we are in the process of fundraising to build new kennels because the kennels that we have are very, very inadequate. They've lasted 15 years, but they're literally falling to pieces. And the dogs need much, much more. And so I've been quite involved in all of that. That's taken over rather. And And the other thing that happened was that I met up with a friend of mine who I hadn't seen for 40 years. I used to crew with him for a friend of ours who, I was 23, 24, 25, that sort of age, when we used to do drag racing at Santa Pod. And I hadn't seen him for years. And we met back up on Facebook a few years ago, and then finally, after nagging and nagging, when are you going to come up to a race? When are you going to come to a meeting? We'd missed each other. We'd gone to different meetings. But I always go to the meeting, the nostalgia meeting in the middle of the year called Dragstalgia, which is when all of the older cars are there, all the cars from our era are there. And I go to other events, but that's the one that I will guarantee that I'm at. And anyway, I got a message to say that they were going to come. And so I was delighted. It was lovely. And we could, great, we can meet up and catch up and all the rest of it. So we did. We met up. We had a lovely weekend. And then I had just done a big craft event in the village here. And I'd had my marquee up. And Steve had seen this on Facebook. And so when he got home, he messaged me and he said, I've got a boat rally going on up where I am. He's 100 miles up north. And would you like to bring your stall and have, and be part of it? So, yeah, great. And then he threw a curveball at me and said, I'm harbour master. Do you want to stay on the boat with me? You can come up early, crew the boat with me, help out, and then obviously do the rally at the weekend and then crew the boat back. And I thought for about a nanosecond and then I messaged back and went, absolutely yes. So off I went, and we had 6 days of filling in all of the gaps, filling in 40 years, and we discovered that we had an enormous amount of things in common, one of which was narrow boats, which I hadn't realised that he was into them, and he didn't know I was into them. And I was able to say to him when I got on the boat, well, this is weird because I'm going to move on to one. So this is the big change. He was the only one out of everybody that I've spoken to who went, oh, there's lots to know. I said, that's fine. I want to know all the pitfalls. I know all the good bits, but I would like to know all the pitfalls as well. So we went through those. So I have a book full of where all the leaks can happen, what happens if, what happens if, what happens if. And I've learned an enormous amount over the last 18 months because last year we did 3 weeks in Wales, and he has a beautiful narrowboat called Martha. And so we did 3 weeks on her and took her onto the Llangollen Canal and Montgomery, and it was more of a helmsmanship course than it was a holiday because he put me through my paces and we did do some very long days. But I've learned a huge amount, and also what it's given me the opportunity to do is to whittle down exactly what I need from the boat that I'm going to buy. So it was a very useful exercise. The other thing that I could do also was measure everything in the boat, because I have to fit somewhere. I have to fit a workshop in. So I have been gradually whittling out my house. So I've sold lots of bits and pieces. I've sold my great big spinning wheel, which was heartbreaking, but it's actually gone to a lady who is so desperate to learn to spin, and I've been able to give her all sorts of bits and pieces that I had as well. So that's really been a lovely thing. I knew I couldn't fit that on the boat. So if I do decide to spin again, then it will be on a little e-spinner or something, but I may not. It's not my first love. It was just something that scratched an itch, I think, for the time being. My lovely Rebecca, the one that I rescued from Norway is coming on the boat, but she'll be more of a piece of furniture than she will be a spinner. So yeah, that's been an interesting year. So not only have I done boating events, but I've also done steam rallies and all sorts. And I have increased my stock. I have been sewing, but I've been sewing at odd points, so not really a point where I can video. But I will put some little pieces in that I filmed over the last year, because I did do a few, but they weren't coherent enough to put into a full video, and they were a bit of snippets here and there. So I'll add a few in. For instance, the Welsh trip came straight after a trip that Tracy and I had made, my friend and I had made, to Wales, and I'd been to the Welsh Quilting Museum, and my Thursday class then did some Welsh quilting, which actually I can show you, because there's a little piece that I filmed on the canal in Wales, and I'll show you now. Well, we've been doing Welsh quilting, and since I'm poodling along on a narrowboat on the Welsh Canal, in the Montgomery Canal in Wales, I thought I would do a little bit of Welsh quilting and show you what it's all about. So when I was in Wales in March, I had the opportunity to go and visit the Welsh Quilt Museum, which was amazing. Some beautiful historical quilts there, and all of these gorgeous traditional patterns, so things like leaves and fans and and they call them hound ears, but they're a kind of a shape that does that. And so I designed a pattern based around the traditional patterns, and it's going to become a cushion eventually with some lace on it, because obviously Welsh do lace as well. So if I put it up close, can you see? More or less. So this comprises leaves, pineapples and hearts. Oh look, and we're in a bit of shade, so you can actually see it a bit better now. And it's basically you do your pattern on your top layer, and then your wadding and your base layer. So if you were doing a whole quilt, you could do one whole piece. So they do whole piece quilts like it. You can patchwork it and do it like that as well. It's just as good. It's so relaxing. So when I came home, I thought, I get a bit inspired. So I suggested to my Thursday class, my patchwork class, that we could do this. And so it would be our response to Welsh quilting. And so everybody brought in a piece of fabric and some backing and some embroidery thread or perlé or whatever they wanted to use. And one of the class brought in some pre-printed patterns, which they weren't Welsh, but they were very similar. And so we sat and did a response, and so that was my response. So I thought, I'll sit and do a bit of quilting on the Welsh Canal, my Welsh quilting. So hope you've enjoyed. I shall carry on doing this. Not easy to see in the sunshine, but I hope you enjoyed a little snippet of it, and you'll see it when it's finished. So bye, take care. And the result was this. So that's what it ended up as. So I turned it into a cushion. There we go. And on the back, it's just got a little heart. So it's my response to Welsh quilting. And that'll end up on my boat, because I'm not going to leave it anywhere. So yeah, there were some various bits and pieces that I did, but I really haven't done a lot. What I have done is a lot of out and about, a lot of weekends away, because Steve and I then got together. But as I said, he lives 100 miles away, so instead of, we don't see each other all the time, but we have extended dates. We've decided that works. We're both too set in our ways. We've both been on our own for a long time, and I think that you get used to your own space, don't you? But it has been such fun, and I have made so many friends on the canal system that I never thought I'd make. it's been lovely. It really has been lovely. And I've been up and, you know, to see them all this last year. So we've done boating events and some of them come to the steam events as well. So that's good fun. I've also fallen in love with a lot of the crafts that are associated with the historic boats. So some of their crocheting and bonnet making and also quilting. So it's been a bit of an inspiration year for me. But anyway, so back to what's going on. So my house is for sale. This year seems to be picking up. I've already had 2 views and I've got another one coming up. So with any luck, I will go this year. But I can't buy my boat until I've sold my house. So in the meantime, I have been I've been measuring steves, because over the last year I've been looking at, do I get a 70-foot boat, because that will give me lots of room, but they cost a lot of money to moor. I'm going to be on a marina to start with anyway. I would like a home mooring, because I want to be somewhere where in the winter I can stay put. In the summer then I'll move around. This year is my last year of scheduled work on land. So at the end of this year I will retire from that, and then I will be mobile. So my talks that I've been doing over the last couple of years, they've taken off, and I'm booked up quite well for those. And it also means that I can go further. So I don't have to restrict myself to the Hearts, Beds and Bucks area, which I do at the moment because of travelling. But I'm having great fun with them. Some of them are 2 or 3 a week, which is fantastic. And I just enjoy doing it. So I'm writing 3 new talks as well, so that's busy. So what I've also been doing is a kind of long-winded project, which is behind me. I'll show you. So 10 years ago, when I lost my mum, we spent the last week with my mum in a hospice, and it was bittersweet because we didn't realise it was going to be her last week until a couple of days in, and then it was plainly obvious. And whilst we were there, I took my daughter out of school. She was leading up to GCSEs, but she and my mum were so close. And they had such an incredible relationship. So she brought all her homework in to the hospice and she sat with my mum. And I'm so glad that we did that, because it was really important for her. And she could be a granddaughter and I could be a daughter. My dad could be a husband. We didn't have to do caring anymore. For that 1 week, it was lovely. It was horrible, but it was lovely as well. We were able to just spend time with her. And one of the things that I noticed was that on the beds in the hospice, they all had these little quilt toppers, and it was falling apart, the one that was on Mum's bed. So I took all my embroidery silks in, and so while I was sitting talking to Mum, or we had the TV on, or she just wanted to sleep, I would be there with her, and I just fixed all the tops. And then one of the nurses came in while I was doing it and said, "Ooh, if we bring the rest of them in, can you fix all of them, because they're falling apart?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So I mended all 12, and then when I was trying to think of something I could do as a thank you, you know, I wasn't earning a lot, and I thought I want to do something that's going to be permanent, and I came up with the solution, which was to make a new set of quilts. But it's taken me 10 years, because every time I got them out, it's an emotional thing, and sometimes I could do a bit, other times I just put them away again. And this last year I've been able to get them finished, and I think it's partly due to the fact that I'm really happy, I'm in a good space. Having said I wasn't going to get involved with anybody ever again, I've amazed myself by going, no, let's just do this. and having so much fun along the way. It's been quite tiring because it's a lot of driving for both of us really, but it's just nice to have done something completely different this year and also get the experience of the boat, and just spend time together. It's been really lovely. It's also given me the opportunity to make sure that Rosie is okay on the boat, because her back legs aren't great anymore, but she's very good with, she uses a ramp, and she's also really good at being a partner. So she's a good team player, and I've taught her to wait and pause up, and I help her on her back end, and she waits, and she's going deaf, so she looks for hand signals, and so she absolutely loves the boat. She's really good. The engine starts, she goes to bed, engine stops, out she gets, out she's gone, what are we going to do? And walks along the tow paths have become something she loves. And yeah, it's been good. So I had this last year to settle. I think I have settled into who I know again. Just come back to me. And one of the things that it has enabled me to do is to finish these quilts off without the tears. It's been more about stitching them and remembering my mum, and putting some music in there, or stitching it when I'm watching a film, or stitching when I'm sitting with friends. And I took them into my Thursday class, and got them to have a good look at them, and they really like them. So, and they're an honest bunch, they'll tell me if they don't. So that was really nice. So I thought I'd show you, so I'll pop this over here. So I've got them all behind me. There's a bunch of different colours. This one's a really lovely bright yellow. I'll put them that way round. They're just to go on the top of a single bed, really. So that's what the idea is. So lovely bright yellows, cheerful colours. I've tried to make them as bright as I can, as sort of happy kind of things. Some of them are more muted. There's a pink and turquoise job. They're very simple, they're just squares. I haven't done anything fancy-ancy with them. They're mostly quilted on the diagonal. They're all hand quilted, but I did stitch everything together on the machine. That one is a purple and turquoise. I have made a little patch on the back that just tells them who made them and why. Not why, but the fact that I made them specifically for them. The other thing is that they don't have any wadding, so they're literally, it's a double cotton. So all I've done is put a layer of cotton sheeting in between, so it makes it very light and mobile, because obviously when people are fragile they don't need a big weight on top of them. So it's just fleece backed, so it's warm, and then it's a cotton layer and then the patchwork on top. That one's more of a kind of muted colours, bit softer, gentler. That's got a kind of lovely warm orange on the back of it. That one's very similar. It's a little bit more small squared, but similar, slightly darker colours. This one is a green and purple. Is it green and purple? Yes, it is. It's kind of greens and, yeah, turquoises and so on. This one's much more of a turquoise and purple, with purple backing again. I think that one is as well. Oh no, that's green. That's like a sage green colour on the back. That one's much more of a funky thing with pink and that in it. So one of the things that I did think of was that a lot of hospices, people think it's old people. It's not. Sometimes it's young people. Sometimes it's people middle-aged people. I'm 63. I consider myself to be middle-aged. I wouldn't want something too sombre, maybe to cheer me up. This one's greys and reds. It actually goes that way up. It's got because it's got French women walking. So that's that one. And then, oh, that I'll leave that one to last actually. That one is pinks and greens, so it's quite a gentle colour. These are all scrap. I wanted to reuse fabrics because I knew then that they wouldn't shrink. They've all been relaundered and I've made sure there's no rosy hairs on any of them. But I wanted to use up some, some scrap work. That's blue and yellow. Just all the squares are the same size on that one. And it's a smaller quilt I've done. You can probably see on the back. So the yellows are big squares, the blues are in betweens. So you can see, yeah. And then there's this one, which is, instead of doing diagonals, I've just done hearts. So it's got hearts in the middle and then it's got hearts on either end. And I've just quilted some square quilting in between. And then this one, which is, I think, this one is my favourite, I think. The blue and yellow one is, obviously I love blue and yellow, it's my favourite colours, so obviously I love that one. But I just like the kind of gentleness of this one. Just seems quite calm. They weigh quite a lot when they're all together. Oh, God, they really do. Right, so I'm going to pop them all back up there. Stay put. I'll roll them back. What I'm going to do is roll them, fold them and roll them, and then I'll tie them up with ribbon, and then I'm going to box them up and take them over. I was going to take them over this week, but we've had ice and snow, and the roads today were awful, so I decided not to. So my project today, and you can come along with me, is to make a new curtain for the bathroom that will let the light through and is lighter colours. And I think I'm going to do it with different sized squares. I think that's what I want to do. So give me a moment and we can crack on with that, and I'll continue to fill you in. So I've chosen some pieces that I've already got out the back, and I've decided I'm going to go for light greys with little hints of colour. So I've got a quilt here, or duvet cover, which has a white side with little grey flowers and a grey side with little white flowers. What's that side? I've also got a duvet cover here which has birds. It's greys and then it's got birds and so forth on it, and so there's greys and pinks, there's blues. So I found a blue that's the same blue as is in the can you see there, that's as in here, and I found some other colours which have got sort of pinks in them, and they're a little bit more geometric. So this was a set of fat quarters that I bought ages ago. Can you see there? So they've got pinks and things in them. So I thought what I'd do is, these are small and obviously these are big. So I thought if I make something that's got large squares and then smaller squares that make up the larger, similar to what I've done really on the quilts. And I just need it to be the same size as this. So I'm going to use this as my size template because this is exactly the size that I need. And then I shall reuse the voile that I had on the back of it. Just put that away. I'm sure I've shown you this before. It's just my beautiful quincamp pick. It was made for me by a friend of one of my Thursday class. and he made one for her and I fell in love with it, and then she came in and I had one for myself. I was chuffed to bits. So I need to go and get my 12.5-inch rule and some smaller. I'll probably use a 6.5-inch or something like that, and then we can start cutting these bits out, and I'll fill you in on the rest of the news. So I'm going to use two of my big square patchwork rules here. One's the 12.5-inch and one's the 9-inch, or 9.5-inch rather. They have ½ inches on them because if you want a 9-inch square, you want a 1/4 of an inch either end, so they add a ½ inch. Just be careful when you're cutting that you don't, if you want something like a 7-inch, you want to always make sure you're going from, I always try and go from 1 to 1 and 1 across. Don't twist it around, you might end up with a 1.5-inch square, which you don't want. It's happened quite often with people, I know. So I think to start off with, what I'm going to do is cut some big squares out of the large fabric. I know normally I say to you, you must remember to always press your fabrics before you use them, but this one I probably will press in a minute. This one I won't worry too much because it's actually new. I don't normally use new fabric very often, but this one is. I'll find the name. Oh, actually, I think I might have to press it after all. So I've done the boring bit of of all of the pressing, and what I then did was I cut out some 12.5-inch squares of the grey and the white, so they're the same patterns, and then I went through and I fussy cut the birds out of the other fabric, so 12.5-inch squares with the different birds in, different coloured birds. So there's yellows, pinks, blues, yeah, I think that's it, yellow, pink, blues. And then what I've done is I've laid it out in a bit of a random pattern, so it's not as random as some, but I pinned it onto the old curtain. So you can sort of see what I've done. It's I've overlapped and overlaid. I've not cut the little ones yet, they're just literally pinned on. I kind of like the way they go. Some of them are just rectangular, some of them are squares. I might switch the squares and the rectangles out a little bit because I've got rectangles down the bottom, squares up the top. So I might have a bit of a jiggle around with that. But that's more or less what I'm going to do. It's very pale, but it will let the light in, and then what I'll do is I might just do a bit of embroidery on it or something just to whoosh it up, but I don't think it's going to need it while it's in there as a curtain. It's not going to stay there permanently. I'm going to take this to pieces, I expect, and then make something else out of this when I get on the boat, because it'll just be a piece of cloth then. But for the time being, it'll be a curtain. It'll brighten the bathroom up a little bit. It won't, because at the moment you look through the window of the bathroom onto all of the stuff in the utility room, and that could be washing or all sorts of things. I don't really want to look at that all the time. So it's something that that will hide that a little bit, I think. So that's where I've got to with this. I'm not going to carry on too much longer really, because it's going to make the video very long. And I'm going to pop a few little pieces and bits and pieces in at the end, just so you can see what I've been doing over the year. Now the last little thing that I want to tell you about is a new addition to our family. And he arrived, well, he was born whilst we were in Wales in May. We came home, I came home to here, and I got a message from Steve to say a cat has just run out from underneath where I live. Okay. So he's got a storage area under his home. And so I said, oh, and he said, I don't know what to do. What should I do? And I said, well, feed the mother, but there's likely to be kittens. And he'd gone back in and he said, I've found 3. And they were at that point about just about 3.5, 4 weeks old, probably 4, but they still had the navy blue eyes. Anyway, I said, well, feed the mum. It was when it was getting very warm. I said, put food down, put water down. It'll be fine. Mummy will take care of them, and that'll be that. Anyway, 2 days later, outside his front door, he opened a front door first thing in the morning, and out there, sitting on the step, was the black and white baby. And the other 2 had disappeared, and so had the mother. They weren't underneath anymore. So he took some photos of him. Here he is. And he said, I can't keep him. I'll have to do something because we're away all the time. And I said, but he's 4 weeks old, which means that he could be harness trained. He has no concept of what the world is about at the moment. You are going to have to feed him for the first few days because he's not old enough to drink. So bless him, Steve went off and got a whelping kit, and he hand reared him for a few days. And his name is Gasser because he was born underneath the gas bottles, and is also a class of drag cars that we particularly like, but that's beside the point. Anyway, little Gas, he's harness trained, he's lead trained. He has been on lots of boat adventures. He's been to steam rallies. He's ridden around in Steve's old ambulance. He is the biggest show off ever. He loves his crowd. He plays to the audience. He's so funny. He's very bold. He's very brave, and he's quite sensible. So he is part of our adventure, really. And Rosie treats him like a little brother. And one of the things that really stuck out this time round, just before Christmas, Steve came down for the week with the camper, and we all went off to Norfolk for a couple of nights. And we took Rosie and Gasser on Hunstanton Beach. So I will leave it here now because otherwise it's just going to go forever. I will get this stitched up, and if I get a chance, we'll stitch this together. So I think that's what I might do, is maybe stitch this together, and I'll go through creating the curtain with you. And it's just on a net wire, so it's not complicated. But in the meantime, have a wonderful, wonderful start to this year. I really hope that you're all well. Let me know what you're doing. Let me know how your Christmas went. We had a lovely Christmas. It was very quiet. So let me know. Let me know how you all are, because I haven't been on here for the longest time now, and it would be really lovely to know how you've all got on, and what you think of the plans that I've got. And let me know how your Christmas went. Let me know how your New Year went. And I look forward to lots of adventures this year, and I will be bringing you with me because I'm back on it now. I've got rid of all the niggles that were going on, and yeah, things are good. So take care, and I hope wherever you are, you're safe and warm. And I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for being there. Bye.